I'm the hearing examiner this evening. The purpose of this hearing is to allow me to receive evidence and testimony on the matters that are pending. I make a recommendation only to the county commissioners. I do not make the final decision. I will be submitting my recommendations to staff within 2 weeks of this evening's hearing. The application will then be scheduled for deliberations before the county commissioners. If you wish to give testimony, I need you to fill out one of the sheets if you're here in person that are in the back of the room. And when you come to the podium, please give your name and address for the record before you begin your testimony. First, staff will introduce the application, then we will hear from the applicant. After the applicant's testimony, we will then get into the public comment sheets and those who are on Zoom desiring to make public comment as well. We will hear first from those who are in favor, then those who are neutral, and then those who are opposed. The public not speaking will be read into the record. We will then give the applicant or their representative an opportunity to rebut any testimony stated into the record from the public before we close the public hearing. After that point, we will receive no more testimony. The time limits are 30 minutes for the applicant's presentation, 5 minutes for public testimony, and 15 minutes for applicant rebuttal. I would ask that you direct all your testimony to me and not to the audience. And are there any questions? Not seeing any live. And David, any?
Madam Hearing Examiner, just by way of quick explanation, I'm David Callahan, Kootenai County Community Development Director. I am tonight's Zoom host. And in that way, I control all of the microphones and video of anyone that has Zoomed in. And of course, we'll open those microphones and videos up for anyone once the public participation portion of the hearing is reached, for anyone that wants to speak. As a matter of protocol, it would help me if you're familiar with Zoom, if you would just use the Zoom handle to raise your hand in the Zoom window. That way I know you want to speak. Otherwise, I can just read through the list and ask people as we go. But I'll probably need to make this announcement later on in the evening as we get more people Zooming in, just so they know. The one other thing I should mention, and I'm just now turning it on, is I'm recording this meeting so that we have a transcription of everything that's said. That way it just makes it easier for the staff to quickly produce minutes. And unless you have questions, I think I've covered what I wanted to cover. We can move on to the staff presentation.
Great. Thank you very much. So our first hearing this evening is case number CUP 20-0002.
Good evening. Planner Zach Trevino for the record. I'll be presenting case number CUP 20-0002, a request for a conditional use permit for a restricted surface mine. The owner and applicant is Basin Properties, LLC. The subject parcel is located along State Highway 3, immediately south of Cave Lake, approximately 10 miles east of the city of Harrison. The parcel is 37.5 acres in size. As you can see from this aerial, it is immediately south of State Highway 3, across from Cave Lake. And to its west is Willow Creek, the creek that runs and lets out into Cave Lake. And history is relevant to this case. Originally, a conditional use permit was granted in 1996 to permit a 1-acre restricted surface mine at this site. That was expanded in 1999 to allow 5 acres of additional land for a total of 6 acres. In 2004, 2010, and 2014, the use was extended. The most recent extension, CUP 14-0009, granted in 2014, expired in January of this year. Last year, in 2019, a boundary line adjustment occurred, causing the existing mine to be located on the current 37.5-acre parcel, which we bring today, in this case. The parcel is located in the agricultural zone with a comprehensive plan designation of shoreline. The proposed use is consistent with both the zone and the comprehensive plan designation. This is an aerial view of the project site facing southeast. As you can see, the main access is located off of State Highway 3. The project site itself consists of a hill. The mine is located slightly above the road level on the north side of the parcel. And Willow Creek Road is a public road maintained by Eastside Highway District that runs along the entire western edge of the parcel. The parcel is surrounded by mostly undeveloped land, but there are a few residences. As you can see, the nearest residence is immediately east of the existing mine area. There's also a residence located south of the parcel, but most of the land to the east and west is undeveloped. The site itself consists of the 6-acre mine, a main approach onto State Highway 3. That approach branches into two routes to the pit floor. One is more gradual than the other. The existing high wall is indicated here on this photo. And to the west of the site are wetlands corresponding with Willow Creek. The entrance is gated, so access is controlled by the property owner. And the mine itself is buffered by vegetation and natural topography. And from this photo, you can really see that the mine is located significantly above road grade, just due to the topography of the site as it is located on the hill. These are some photos of the site. The top left is the view of the mine from State Highway 3. As you can see, nothing is visible from the right-of-way. Due to the topography, there's no way to see any of the activity from outside of the parcel. Top right is the high wall as it appears today. This is the direction that the mine would expand in over the next 30 years. Bottom left is the scale and scale shack located at the entrance to the mine. Loads that are leaving site are weighed on the scale. And the bottom right is the entrance to the site. You can see the two routes to the pit floor, as well as the gates that control access. They're open in this picture. This is what the main pit looks like today. You'll notice that aggregate stockpiles surround much of the pit, and also that there's no visibility to the adjacent public right-of-ways from the pit. For orientation, the high wall is located on the left side of this photo. The applicant proposes to add an area of 17.5 acres to the workings of the mine over the course of the next 30 years. The entire perimeter of the mine will be surrounded by a 100-foot undisturbed buffer zone to ensure that the activities of the mine do not affect any surrounding parcel. In addition, there will be an undisturbed area south of the mining area of approximately 1.5 acres where there will be no workings in the future. The mine today does not have any domestic water or sewer connections, and none are proposed as part of this use. Workers are able to use a portable toilet located on site. The main purpose of this restricted surface mine is to provide aggregate rock product for a number of types of local customers. That includes residential homeowners, various government agencies. For example, Eastside Highway District uses this mine as a source for material in a number of its projects. The material is weighed on a scale on site, and then the applicant or the customer takes it home from there. This is just a rough depiction of the future mining area. As I mentioned, the use will expand gradually over the next 30 years, depending on demand. But you'll note on the right side of the photo, which is the southern end of the parcel, there is an undisturbed area. The applicant is not proposing to go any further south than this. Importantly, a reclamation plan currently exists for this parcel. The Idaho Department of Lands has this reclamation plan in place. It involves stockpiling soils that are excavated and using that for future reclamation, as well as seeding with native vegetation. Staff does recommend that if this existing reclamation plan is modified and updated with IDL, that the applicant provides the updated plan to community development. This use has been reviewed by relevant agencies with jurisdiction. No issues were raised. Important to note that IDL confirmed the valid reclamation plan. The Idaho Transportation Department confirmed that there is an existing encroachment permit that is valid. The East Side Highway District did recommend approval, and the other agencies gave standard responses and recommendations that should be adhered to by the applicant. No objections were raised. Staff received 4 responses to the request for public comment. 2 were in support, 2 were neutral, and 0 were opposed. So no issues from the public on this proposed use. The restricted service mine use is able to be approved for a period of 5 years. Once it's approved, the applicant can apply for an extension of 5-year periods, which the Director of Community Development can approve. The board is able to require that a performance bond be put in place in order to assure compliance with any conditions of approval that are imposed on the use. Staff has analyzed the use and determined that the applicant has demonstrated feasibility of this use, complies with the performance standards for a restricted service mine. This mine has operated for almost 25 years without causing any problems for surrounding parcels, and no sensitive areas have been disturbed nor are expected to be disturbed based on the expansion that is planned for the next 30 years. I stand for any questions you may have at this time.
I don't have any questions right now. Thank you.
Thank you.
And now we'll hear from the applicant or their representative.
Good evening, madam. My name is Brandon Junso. I own and operate Junso Consulting Group. My address is 1001 Paradise Lane in Pinehurst, Idaho. I am representing Basin Properties LLC, as well as the Basin Resources, which is the main entity on site that currently quarries the rock, processes and sells the rock. I thought Mr. Trevino did an excellent job with his presentation. I really have nothing more to add. I think to do so would probably just be a waste of your precious time. Like Mr. Trevino said, it's been around for 25 years. Basin Resources is definitely a steward to the environment, and they will continue as such going forward. The thing about Willow Creek is that the expansion out there will be incredibly slow, and 30 years was just used as an estimate. It could be 40 or 50 years before they ever reach that level of expansion, if at all. It was kind of a formality on how it turned out the way that it did. We were planning on doing an extension back in December, but Mr. Tarbutton found kind of a small issue with how the property was subdivided, in the fact that it was zoned agricultural, and the small parcel that was broken off so that Basin could continue the operations out there was only 9 acres. And according to zoning ordinance, that wasn't allowed for anything less than 20 acres. So Basin, having to own the property directly to the south, decided to do a lot line adjustment to make things easy. We created the parcel that is now 37.5 acres. But I would imagine we'll probably go through this process 5, 6, maybe even 7 more times before they see that level of expansion. The grading out there will be incredibly gradual. I think that the wildlife will have plenty of time to adjust. There will be nothing out there that will be dramatic. And it has proven to be an essential source for Eastside Highway District. I know we've had glowing reviews from Mr. John Pancratz. It sits in a very strategic location right there off of Highway 3, and it has also proven very valuable to the Idaho Department of Fish and Game. Last fall, I had a chance to help a contractor estimate a project right there at Black Rock Slough, And with this pit producing a high quality rock that can be used for riprap, reduce the costs immensely for Idaho Pitch and Wayne. And they plan to move forward with that project this fall. That's all I really wanted to add. Like I said, Mr. Trevino did an excellent job. I will open myself up for any questions.
How far out do you suppose your market area extends from the location of the mine?
Oh gosh, well, with the nearest source being like the Pew Pit in St. Mary's, or the recent one that got developed a few years ago that I was a part of outside of Harrison, I would say probably upwards of 20 miles in all directions. There's Smelterville and Cataldo to the east, northeast, but there's a lot of lane miles that have to be traveled to be able to get gravel from those locations. And with it being 2-lane highway with not many passing zones, I know that the locals greatly appreciate having a source like this.
And so you utilize the existing material that's already been mined first?
What is that? You broke up there?
Oh, you're going to utilize the existing material that's on site that's already been mined first?
Yes, ma'am. That's the thing about Willow Creek is that Basin really only has to bring a crusher in every few years. That when they come in and they put up stockpiles, it can take several years for these gravel stockpiles to dwindle. And so the material that got put up last summer, I can't imagine they would bring a crushing unit back in probably until 2022 at the earliest, before they've got enough room in there to be able to do that.
And then are you open for like a residential user to just come to your site and pick up material, or do they call ahead such that when you guys aren't giving rock and product to people, your gates are shut and you're not there?
That's correct. Yes, it's a closed gate. We use the term dummy lock on occasion, especially during the summer. But a lot of it's honor based. The people out there are amazing. But there is a sign on the fence on the gate that has a phone number for Mr. Ed Davis. And like I said, sometimes there's nobody there to monitor the scales. Individuals could pull in with a pickup truck, and if they wanted to shovel gravel, sometimes there's a loader on site. They're calling it a head. A head will have an operator on site to be able to load those gravels. But in some instances, for those that use it consistently but inconsistently, are asked to travel over the scales, weigh themselves appropriately, and leave the scale ticket behind. And then Mr. Davis is out there on usually an everyday basis, sometimes every other day, to gather up tickets, check on the site, and make sure everything is working accordingly.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes.
Now we'll move on to public comment. I have no sheets up here for this case. Do you have anyone on Zoom?
If anyone is zoomed in and wants to speak to this item, if you could unmute your mic and let me know, or raise your hand if you know how to do that through Zoom. Looks like we're free to go forward.
Okay, great. Then that closes the public testimony on case number CUP 20-0002. Now we'll move on to our next case for the evening, which is case number CUP 19-0012.
Good evening, Amy Nolan, planner for Kootenai County for the record. CUP 190012 is for an agricultural product sales store, specifically a commercial sod business. The owners are Richard and Inga Arts. The business is King Sod LLC. The subject parcel is located north of Hayden Avenue, approximately a half mile southwest of the Coeur d'Alene Airport. It is located on a private road, Memory Lane. The subject parcel is 10 acres. It is located over the Rathrum Prairie Aquifer. Kootenai County Noxious Weed Department did identify leafy spurge. It is a noxious weed in the area. It is in an area of city impact known as the shared tier. This shared tier is shared by cities Post Falls, Hayden, and Rathrum. There are two entrances to this parcel. There is a primary entrance and a secondary entrance. There are two pool buildings on site. There is a single-family residence, and there is a 40 by 48 storage building existing on site. The storage building will be used to house the sod brought on site. The items highlighted in red are structures that do not have building permits according to county records. It will be required that they do get building permits as a condition. The subject parcel is located in the agricultural zone and is in the transitional comprehensive plan designation. To provide you with some parcel history, in 2019, code enforcement did identify two businesses in operation. There was a fencing business and a sod business. The fencing business was determined to be a home occupation for which no permit is required. The commercial sod business did require a CUP, conditional use permit. The category that it fell under is agricultural product sales store. Listed here are the performance standards for an agricultural product sales store. The subject site, as mentioned previously, is located in the agricultural zone and is 10 acres. Sod is considered an agricultural product. According to the applicant's narrative, the business will be run by members of the family and one employee. No commercial activity is permitted except as set forth under this agricultural product sales store or otherwise permitted, such as the home occupation. All storage areas will have a side string fence. The sod, as mentioned previously, will be in that 40 by 48 storage building. The applicant is requesting a variance to the 600-foot requirement from any neighboring off-site loans. The applicant is proposing portable toilets. There is a forklift that will be used to load and unload sod, and it will be stored with the sod in storage building. The applicant will be using sandwich board signs for wayfinding purposes. The hours of operation are May through October, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Semi-trucks will be used as follows. The applicant has described that one semi-truck will deliver sod product from the farm to the site on a daily basis. The applicant also has two trucks on site at all times. One of these trucks will be used for everyday deliveries from the site to the customer. The other is stored as a backup in case the first is in need of repair. The applicant expects approximately 15 customers a week to visit the site. And for orders that equal or exceed 5,000 square feet will be delivered directly from the farm to the customer. Here is a site plan provided by the applicant. The secondary entrance will be used for the commercial sod business. The primary entrance will only be used for the residents. Customers will enter and exit through the secondary entrance. They will travel to the back of the property where there is a loading area and a turnaround area, and they will pick up their sod and exit the way they came. Here are some photos that the applicant provided. They depict Memory Lane looking northward. There is also a depiction of the entrance, the secondary entrance. And there is also a photo showing one of their delivery trucks next to a vehicle on Memory Lane. Staff took photos of the site showing the storage building, sod in the storage building, the loading and turnaround area, as well as the driveway. objection to the proposed use. Panhandle Health did approve portable toilets on site. The building division did provide requirements for building permits. The noxious weed department did provide information on how to mitigate the leafy spurge on site. The highway district had no additional improvements to either the approach or to memory lane. Community development did receive 6 comments from the public, 1 in support, 1 neutral, 4 in opposition. 2 of those in opposition were from the same individual. Concerns were vehicle traffic, road maintenance, road width, and dust. Staff finds that the applicant has demonstrated feasibility. The proposal meets the performance standards for an agricultural product sales store. Signs are permitted on right in the code. Sandwich board signs fall under temporary sign category. They are limited to 28 days out of the calendar year to be on site. Staff recommends that there be a limit to the number of trips to and from the site. 1 semi-truck per day. This is the truck that delivers side from the farm. 1 on-site delivery truck per day, which the applicant proposes to do so. And a limit of customers per week. We just put 15 as that's what the applicant expects. And we find that that is appropriate. Dust mitigation, staff recommends that a dust mitigation plan and road maintenance plan be provided as a condition of approval. Dust mitigation would simply be a narrative and site plan showing the methods that will be used, how often those methods will be employed, and where they would be employed. Similarly, a road maintenance would be a narrative discussing how often they will check the private road memory lane, what repairs they expect to implement, and how often they expect to implement them. Staff does not require parking requirements, as the semi-trucks and customers are only there for a limited amount of time. And we did not find that landscaper requirements are necessary, as there is vegetation on site, and the nearest residence is 500 feet away. There is screening provided by the existing structures, and there are also some berms located on and off site that help with screening. Staff also supports the variance. Based on the findings, staff, there is an undue hardship based on the characteristics of the site. This map shows a 600-foot radius from the nearest dwelling, the neighboring dwellings. As you can see, there is no room on the subject parcel for a storage building. It is the minimum variance that will make possible use, and is not in conflict with the public interest. In fact, staff finds that a storage building would help preserve the sod, it would help keep the site organized, and would help mitigate any spread of the weed infestation in the area. I stand for any questions that you may have.
I don't have any for you at this time. Thanks, Amy.
Okay.
And now we'll hear from the applicant.
Hi, my name is Justin Arts. I live at 7037 West Bon Air Loop in Coeur d'Alene, and I am representing King Sod as a part owner of the company and representing the parcel in question here. I think Amy did a really good job kind of depicting what we plan on doing, kind of our scope of work that we have, and the issues that were addressed by the neighbors. I would just like to kind of address how we've already started mitigating any of the issues that they brought forth to us. The 4 things that they brought to our attention, one being the main concern, which was because it is a gravel road, there is dust that comes from use in especially the summer months when it's dry. And so King Sod has in the past and will continue to, we use Lyman's dust control to spray down essentially oil onto the road to limit the amount of dust. And we assume that entire cost through the company so that the neighbors don't have to put any effort into that aspect. Just to give you an idea of what that costs, so far this year, well, we did that, and it's roughly $3,500 that our company has just assumed to put that dust control down. We've already done it twice this year. And again, we don't ask anything from the neighbors because we understand the extra stress that we put on the road, so we assume that cost. We also purchase gravel that we keep on the property so that when the road is deteriorating from the traffic, such as potholes, we can go out there and patch that, and we do that on a pretty consistent basis. And that's the two ways that we take care of the roadway during the summertime. Rick also is the only one that plows the snow in the wintertime, and although it doesn't directly correlate with King sod, because we take care of the road during the summer months, he also takes care of the road in the winter months, again, not asking for anything from the neighbor, and he's just doing it because it's the neighborly thing to do. So that was one of the main issues that the neighbors brought up, and that is how we plan to mitigate it and continue to mitigate it, because even there, they live there as well, and then no one wants the dust. The other issue that one of the neighbors brought forth was the traffic concern and the semi-truck traffic. The picture that Amy showed you there, one of the neighbors felt the road is too narrow to safely pass a semi-truck. Well, that's just not the case. Semi-trucks are really no wider than a normal vehicle. You pass them on a roadway. And the picture that I took there is of a semi-truck next to an SUV, and as you can tell, there's plenty of room for both vehicles to pass each other safely on the roadway. It is a private drive, so there is no set speed limit by state statute. However, it's a short driveway. So speed has never been an issue. It was a safety thing of having to be able to stay on the road, and there's plenty of room through the length of the road to pass a vehicle just the same as you would a semi. So that really shouldn't be a concern. The road is plenty wide. The other issue that any neighbors brought up was just the amount of traffic. Again, we're proposing 1 truckload up. Initially, when we proposed it, we would like the idea to be able to grow as a company. So up to 2 semi-truckloads of sod being brought into the location per day, Monday through Friday. Don't remember what her, sorry. So with that proposal to expand, we'd do 1 in the morning and then possibly a second one, which would be just thereafter. And then 15 customers a week that would come pick up. And that is just a rough guesstimate because I don't really know yet how many people would come to pick up. But that's what we anticipate. We don't anticipate more than that because the majority of the sales would be deliveries. So if we have a semi-truck come in, the semi-trucks that come from the farm are a lot longer than our trucks, so they can carry 10,000 feet or 20 pallets. Our semi-trucks can carry 6,000 feet or 12 pallets. And so rough math, for every semi-truck that comes in, our truck would leave twice if we delivered everything. So really the amount of traffic is not substantial. I'm not negating the fact that there is traffic, but it's not a substantial amount that it would cause definitely any safety concerns. And I believe those were all of the oppositions. The dust was the main concern, which has been mitigated. Oh, the other opposition was a safety concern of people pulling out onto the roadway. And I don't know that that was one that was brought to Amy's attention, was brought to our attention when we first started. Of people, the first entrance into Memory Lane is the residential entrance. And there are pine trees that kind of come up next to the fence line. And I don't believe it's a blind spot, but I could see it being interpreted as that. So just to negate any concerns, the picture that you saw was the second entrance into Memory Lane, which there's nothing to obstruct the vision, so it's very easy to see if someone else could be possibly coming down the road. So we've taken as many precautions and been reasonable with concern for what the neighbors may be feeling, and while at the same time still trying to operate just this small family business that my dad and I run. The other thing I would like to say is the barn that currently holds the sod just so you understand how it works, we put the sod inside the barn so that it stays out of heavy rain or sun, just kind of protects it in the shade. But because the way the sod is in nature, we don't store it long time. So it goes in and it comes back out. There's the possibility that we might keep a couple pallets overnight, but it's not like a storefront where we're putting things on the shelves. It's in there temporarily to protect it, and then it goes out when the customer or it gets delivered. So even though it's considered an agricultural store, I don't want it perceived like it is a storefront, if that makes sense.
So, are you,
I think that's all I got.
okay. So what's your season?
It's all dependent on weather. So we can't cut sod from the field until the ground thaws. So like this year, it thawed really early. And so we were able to work, I think we started late March, maybe, when the farmer could actually cut. And then you can't install the sod once the ground freezes or the snow flies. So it's kind of weather dependent. That's why we usually say April to October, somewhere around there. It just kind of depends on what our weather does. But really the true season, I would say, would be end of April, probably May to October. That's really when we can operate. But it is kind of weather dependent.
And so pretty much, are you getting a delivery because you know you've got clients who want it?
Yeah, we have to cut it to order. So we only cut it if someone ordered.
Uh-huh.
So because if we hold on to it, you got to imagine, for me to bring in one of those trucks cost me over $2,000. So I don't like losing sod, because if it sits, it goes bad. So no, we essentially take pre-orders, so we can predict, and I should say, we only cut what people would order within reason, if that makes sense.
So you can pretty much control then when you've got trucks that are coming and when you know customers will be coming to pick it up and
Yeah,
that
and in
kind of
fact,
thing.
I actually have to, because I'm also limited based off of, because the farm is about 2 hours away. It's not like I can just on a switch say, oh yeah, I can get that for you. No, it's not. So everything is kind of pre-ordered done. And the farmer knows that, and because of the distance, it's very consistent. The truck comes first thing in the morning, and I deliver it the rest of the day.
Now, I noticed you had amount of sod sort of at the edges of the parking area.
Yeah.
That's sod that can't be used,
No,
or,
or you meant
was
just
kinda dry
not
looking.
inside if it was it on a pallet?
no, it was just kind of lumped, some rolls of sod.
Oh, over by the berm.
Yeah, kind of.
That's just dirt and rock, probably from Rick's fencing company. So when they dig up posts and whatnot, he's got a small pile where he dumps rocks and dirt and whatnot. There may be some rolls over there. Occasionally, if one gets shredded by a machine or something, we will toss just in that berm that kind of protects us from the neighbor. We'll toss a bad roll in there, something like that. Try not to waste any sod, but occasionally we might take a roll or two and we'll throw it in that pile. So I think I know what you're referring to, just some piles and there's some dead rolls. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, they looked
Yeah.
dead.
Yeah, that's probably just from waste.
Signage. So
Yes.
we're talking about sandwich boards and 28 days a year.
A year, and I wasn't.
Ha- So you have to think about how to make that work.
And so, and just so I understand, I can only put a sandwich board out 28 days total out of the year?
That's for temporary signage, yeah.
Okay, and so am I allowed to make a permanent sign?
You'd need to talk to staff about that.
Because, I mean, we can do whatever works. If I thought temporary signage was more conducive for the neighborhood, but if a more permanent sign made sense, and that's something that we can do, we're willing to accommodate whatever. If no signs are needed, then we can just educate our customers where they need to go as opposed to putting out signs. I mean, we're very flexible. We want to make it work. So.
Because there are 2 signs on the property right now, I noticed.
Yeah.
One for where to take your pallets and one for the fencing.
Yes, once you get on the property, there is a sandwich board sign that just tells people where to drop a pallet. And then the fencing one, that's just, it's one of his yard signs that Rick puts in, like people's yards when he does a fence. So he has one just because it's not, he's not directing people in, it's just, yeah, he just likes showing off his signs.
Okay. Let's see if I had anything else. So getting the 3 unpermitted structures to have permits,
Yes.
is that going to be an issue for you?
I don't believe so. So I know when my parents bought the property, however many years ago, 2 of those structures already existed. So I don't understand the building permit side of it. I don't know why, because it used to be, one was a barn for cattle and maybe there was an exemption. Either way, in talking with Rick and Ika, that's not a problem. We can go through whatever process we need to do that. If that's what we need to do, then that's not a problem.
Okay, I don't have any other questions right now.
Okay.
Thank you. We'll hear from the public now.
Well, we certainly can, but if I may, my guess is that Amy probably has an answer to the question about what signs might be allowed other than sandwich boards,
Great.
I mean. Amy, are you prepared for that?
Yes. So you are allowed to have permanent signs. That is permitted right. Doesn't necessarily have to be, doesn't have to be approved with the CUP approval. For instance, you're allowed to have 1 pole sign. It is limited to size restrictions, and I can certainly review that with the applicant. It is dependent on essentially speed limits, for instance.
The size.
A monument sign as well. So yes,
Yeah.
permanent signs are permitted on right.
Thank you.
Hearing that, I'm looking at the list of people that have signed in. No one's used Zoom to tell me they want to speak to this. I'll just ask, is there anyone that's Zoomed in that would like to speak to this item this evening? If so, please unmute yourself and let me know now. Apparently not.
All right, then. Anything more you'd like to add? Or, no? Okay. Then that concludes our public hearing for case number CUP 19-0012. Thank you. And now we will move on to case number MSP 19-0006. Thank you.
Good evening. For the record, Platt Finkel with Kootenai County Community Development. As you have just stated, this is case number MSP 19-0006, Bayshore Estates, a request by Jess Gantz Family Limited Partnership for the approval of a 57-lot phased residential major subdivision. Just a second. We're having issues with switching.
subject parcel of land is located north of Riverview Road and just east of Greens Ferry. It consists approximately of 28.5 acres in size. As you can see, based on the 3D aerial overlay, the subject property is fairly level with very minimal amount of vegetation. It appears like it's pasture land that may have been farmed at some point in the past. The subject parcel of land has a very unique zoning classification, restricted residential with a zoning development agreement. In fact, this parcel, the adjoining parcel to the west and 2 parcels to the south of Riverview right-of-way are all zoned restricted residential with a zoning development agreement, which was rezoned by the applicant in 2008. And before I get into the specifics of the request before us tonight, I would like to go over the project history to bring everybody up to speed as to the events that have transpired that bring us to today's meeting and to explain the framework and the platform of the request by the applicant today. So, as some of you may know, prior to February 8, 2005, the minimum lot size in the agricultural suburban zone was 8,250 square feet. After that date, the county had amended the code to have a minimum lot size of 2 acres. Following the code amendment, the applicant proceeded with a zone change, which is listed on your screen, Z76505. In that request, the applicant asked for the Board of County Commissioners to approve a zone change of the 5 parcels that were just shown to you to restricted residential. I would like to enter this decision into the record. That decision has been placed into the hearing examiner's folder for review. The board at the time, on May 4th, 2006, declined to approve the zone change, citing that in their view, the proposed density would exceed or would not be consistent with the surrounding development and could potentially be viewed as spot zoning. The following year, the applicant submitted another zone change request, case number Z79306, with the same request to approve a zone change from agricultural suburban to restricted residential. On September 27th of that year of 2007, the board declined to approve the zone change request. However, they cited that one of the potential options for the approval of a zone change may be if the applicant comes back with a zoning development agreement to put specific sideboards on the future use and density of the property. That being the case, the applicant did move forward with a third attempt to rezone the property, and on January 8, 2009, in case number ZON08-005, Mr. Getz was finally, in fact, approved a zone change from agricultural suburban to restricted residential with a zoning development agreement for a period of 10 years with the density allowance of 2 dwelling units per acre. I would like to enter the previous decision and the Z79306 and ZON08-005 into the record, and these 2 documents have been added to the HE file for review. In addition to that, due to the downturn in the economy in late 2008-2009, the applicant did not move forward with the process of developing the site as had been contemplated with the approved zoning development agreement. Being that it was only limited to a 10-year period, the applicant came back in 2018 with 2 different requests. His first request was to increase the density from 2 dwelling units per acre to a total of 3 and extend the zoning development agreement. The board declined to approve the increase in density, but they did approve a 5-year extension of the zoning development agreement. And in the decision, the 2018 decision, the board cited the following. A majority of the board believes a 5-year period will grant the applicant a future owner of the subject parcels a sufficient amount of time to design a subdivision project and to address agency requirements or recommendations and public concerns. As long as these concerns are properly addressed, future subdivision development at a density allowed under the current CZBA would not be detrimental to the public welfare and would not be injurious to other property in the surrounding neighborhood. So this was the framework that led us to tonight's hearing. What the applicant has done is exactly what the previous elected officials had directed them to do. They took that decision and they went to the drawing board. We have had several pre-application meetings until they made a submittal, and they submitted an application on the northern parcel across Riverview Road to be consistent and compliant with the recently approved modified zoning development agreement. So this is the wording of the newly adopted CZDA that I just discussed with you tonight. The comp plan designation in this case is shoreline and suburban based on a recent boundary line adjustment. Both comp plan designations allow for the development of the property based on the applicant's proposal. One of the contentious points throughout the public hearing process for the zone changes, and I was present at both the 2009 and the 2018 decision, and through the public comment period on this matter was the location of the Rathdrum Prairie aquifer. A number of individuals, or a large amount of individuals who are opposed to this request, cited that the most recent studies of the aquifer suggest that there is sufficient evidence to show that the Rathdrum Prairie aquifer does in fact encumber land in Kootenai County south of the river. However, the state, including DQ, Panhandle Health District, have not reviewed, approved, or adopted a new modified map that would extend the boundaries of the prairie aquifer south of the river. I have also had that discussion with DEQ and KSD officials, and they have advised me that the map before you is the most accurate map on record, and it has not been changed at this time. The reason this is being brought forward is the fact that if in fact the aquifer did encumber any portion of the subject site south of the river, based on the PhD rules, the applicant would not be able to pursue this request because the standard rule of thumb is that any division of land over Rathdrum Prairie aquifer has a limitation of 1 dwelling unit per 5 acres. This is the layout of the project site. As you can see, there are 2 entrance points. One is on the southern edge of the parent parcel off of Riverview Road, and the second one is on the northeast corner of the subject site where it connects with Patrick Drive, which is located within an adjoining subdivision to the east. Pursuant to Kootenai County Land Use Code, any subdivision that requests over 25 lots must have 2 entrance points for emergency reasons. And this is precisely what the applicant had done in their design. This is the aerial overlay of the proposed plat in relationship to the surrounding development. As you can see, the proposed lot sizes and density is compatible and consistent. In fact, it looks like just the extension of what's currently to the east and to the north adjacent to Spokane River. These are some of the photos adjacent to the project site. Some of them are taken off of Riverview Road and facing the property. The top photo shows the dead end of Patrick Road as you would enter the new, via a new access on the northeast corner of the parent parcel. Some of the concerns that staff had early on is associated with traffic. We did request that the applicant start reviewing the traffic impacts and daily trips associated with requests prior to submittal, and the applicant did submit a comprehensive traffic impact analysis to our department and also to Post Falls Highway District. The Highway District came back in their original response, requested that the applicant address in greater detail the traffic distribution analysis that would have an impact on the adjoining subdivision. The applicant did in fact go back to the drawing board and provide additional evidence, which was accepted by the Highway District. Some of the findings that the traffic engineer provided in their report was that regardless of whether this project is approved or not approved, the end result is that the level of service of the roads adjacent to this project serving this subdivision would have no impact, regardless, within a 4-year period. So I want to make it very clear that we did receive a lot of complaints and concerns from adjoining property owners, and I do acknowledge and understand their concerns. But the fact of the matter is, the applicant submitted a sufficient traffic impact study that has been accepted by the Post Falls Highway District. The subject site will be served by Grace Ferry Water and Sewer District, and septic will be provided the individual wells. The applicant submitted a comprehensive preliminary will-serve letter from the Greens Ferry Water District, which clearly states the guidelines for the water district to serve the subdivision. Some of the key highlight points is that the applicant, should this project be approved, must dedicate or convey 2 different parcels of land on which a distribution, on which a booster pump would be location, and the second one, a well would be located for purposes of serving this subdivision and also the properties within the jurisdictional boundaries of Greens Ferry Water District. The applicant is not opposed to these requirements. I did speak with the applicant, I did speak with the water district official, and everybody's on the same page. I also need to state that should the project be approved, and whether it is the water district or the applicant moves forward with the development of those parcels for future infrastructure improvements for the water district, they will need to contact our office to determine whether a conditional use permit, special notice permit, or any other land use will be required for those improvements. And that has also been expressed to the applicant. We also solicited comments from other agencies, including Idaho Department of Environmental Quality, Fish and Game, Building Division, Fire and Rescue. All of these agencies provided comments with recommendations and requirements which the applicant has agreed to comply with, and staff believes that these are feasible and manageable. So this project was originally supposed to be heard in March of this year, and the county did solicit comments from the adjoining property owners and notice the site. However, due to the pandemic that we're currently in, staff had to cancel the first hearing, which was supposed to be held at the end of March. And we had to reschedule it to today's date. So we had to conduct a second public hearing. As you can see on the slide, we received an overwhelming amount of comments with concerns and opposition of the request. In fact, in each of the 2 public comment periods, we received 2 petitions. One was with 68 comments in opposition, and one was with 74. So some of the concerns that were raised by the public included that the applicant is requesting too much density. The lots are too small. additional traffic would be created that could not be managed, and the roads are not conducive to support that level of traffic impact. The water district does not have the capacity to serve these lots. The proposed 57 drain fields would, excuse me, contaminate the existing district wells in the area, and that the contiguous road access to Patrick Drive to the east would create additional trips through the existing neighborhood. And then last but not least is that the applicant is not proposing any open space. Well, as I have stated previously, the applicant is requesting the density that is allowed and has been approved and directed by the Board of County Commissioners. The lot sizes are consistent and compatible with the surrounding development to the east and to the north. I have personally counted over 100 park lots that are of similar size in the area. The additional traffic concerns, I understand them, but based on the information provided by the traffic engineer and the highway district, in our view, in staff's position, professional opinion, these concerns have been addressed. The water district capacity issue has been addressed by a will serve letter that the applicant and the water district will have to work on together. With regards to the contamination by the septic drain fields of the existing wells, the DQ official nor did the health district raise any concerns, and the property, according to our maps, as of today, is not located over the aquifer. With regard to contiguous access to the adjoining subdivision, that is a requirement by law that a subdivision that has greater than 25 lots must have 2 access points for emergency reasons. And the concern over lack of open space, based on the aerial overview of the project site, there is no adjoining open space area with the exception to the south of Riverview Road, which would create a contiguous open space area for wildlife to traverse. And therefore, not only is it not a conservation design subdivision, but we don't see how it would benefit the wildlife if there was open space that's not contiguous with any other open space to the east, north, or to the west. So staff analysis is that the applicant is requesting a subdivision consistent with the board's approved zoning development agreement and within the appropriate amount of time. The request meets the required findings for a subdivision. The jurisdictional agencies have provided comments, and the applicant can address those. Anticipated impacts can be mitigated. Services can be provided. The project is compatible with surrounding development and uses in the area. Staff's recommendation is that the applicant comply with the public agency requirements and construct the infrastructure improvements or bond for those according to Kootenai County Land Use Code prior to plat recordation. I stand for any questions that you have for me at this time.
That was very thorough, Vlad. Thank you. I don't have a question right now. Now we'll hear from the applicant or their representative.
Would that be Lake City Engineering? Vlad, is it Lake City that's going to?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
The microphone's open. Lake City, you're welcome to share your screen.
Vlad, can you stop sharing your screen, please, so I can share my screen? Good evening, Madam Mayor and Examiner. Drew Hittman with Lake City Engineering, 126 East Poplar. Thank you, Vlad. East Poplar Avenue in the city of Coeur d'Alene. Sitting next to Randy Wickman with Wickman Planning tonight. We're going to kind of tag team this here a little bit. So I shared my screen now, which is basically what Vlad had up on his screen. We have proposing 57 lots on approximately 28.5 acres. It's a density of 2 dwelling units per acre. As Vlad had indicated, we've got 2 phases proposed. Each phase will be greater than the required 10 lots. Timing for phasing is, if the project is approved, we'd like to start construction on phase 1 this fall, and then phase 2 construction would start next spring. Obviously, that's market dependent. Vlad did a very thorough report, so we covered a lot of the stuff that I was going to cover, did the history with the conditional zoning development agreement, so I won't go into that in too much detail. The property is zoned restricted residential as indicated with a conditional zoning development agreement that limits the overall density to 2 dwelling units per acre, which is what we've proposed. And if you have some questions on that, Rand can help out because he was a part of that conditional development agreement. We can answer those at the end. The comp plan, as Vlad had indicated, it has it designated as both suburban and shoreline, which is appropriate for residential development that we are proposing. I'm going to go to the next slide here. As Vlad had indicated, the highway district is Post Falls Highway District. The water provider will be Green Ferry Sewer, or Green Ferry Water and Sewer District. I'll elaborate a little more on that here in a minute. Sewer will be provided by individual sewer system, septic systems, and the fire district is a Kootenai County Fire and Rescue, all of which have submitted agency comments and are in the packet. I did a quick analysis after reading some of the public comments about density and about lot size. So you can see on this exhibit, the Bay Shore Estates proposed project there, 57 lots, 28.5 acres, for a density of exactly 2 units per acre. I counted, Vlad said he counted 100. I counted 149 adjoining lots, which I've highlighted there with the red line, in about 68.5 acres. That's an average density of almost identical 2.18 dwelling units per acre. So my point is what we have proposed tonight is identical to what's existing and adjoining the project. These are the agencies and jurisdictional authorities that submitted letters. Vlad had gone through most of these, so I won't touch on all of them. A couple of them that I do want to talk about are Mental Health, DEQ, and the Green Ferry Water and Sewer District. Green Ferry Water and Sewer, even though they're a water and sewer district, they only provide water. So they have submitted a will serve letter with some conditions on it. We have actually been working with Green Ferry for probably a year now on this project. We are aware they have some infrastructure needs, and we've gone back and forth with them on it. This project will actually help solve some of their problems that they're facing now by providing redundant looping and oversized water mains that they're currently needing desperately. We've also agreed, as Vlad had said, to provide a well site and a booster station. The booster station actually goes off project. It's not part of this project. They want it on Highland Drive, which is the property to the south, which is owned by the same owner, and that's where they like the booster station, and we've agreed to work with them to help get that parcel, and we've also agreed to help get them a well site. So we are aware of their conditions in the will serve letter, and we are agreeable to them. The Health District and DEQ have both looked at this and both provided comment letters or approval letters that are in the packet. We have had some significant discussions with the Health District as it relates to the aquifer line, and Vlad talked at length about that, so I won't go into that, and about septics. And Mental Health has indicated, as they did in their letter, that they have no issue with the number of lots and with us using septic systems for sewage disposal. The list that's up there are several of the other agencies that have authority or expertise in the area and all have submitted letters or letters of approval. I won't go through all of them because Vlad had gone through most of them and they're in the staff report. So I think with that, I will stand for any questions unless Rand had anything else to add.
Is that a no?
That's a no.
Oh, okay, sorry, it's a little hard to hear it in that case. So I am curious about whether I heard this properly. The site for the booster station that you're agreeing to do is, you're saying, owned by the same as the applicant?
Correct. So the site for the booster station where the district has asked for it, because from an engineering standpoint, it needs to be located at a certain elevation so they can pump water up the hill. is actually on Highland Drive, which is just south of this project, but it's adjacent to property that's owned by the same owner.
Oh, adjacent to. So that would be an,
Yeah, they want it, the water line is in Highland Drive, so the booster station would go right next to the water line.
okay, but it means they'd have to acquire property from someone.
You would have to acquire additional property to do it because they need a certain amount of area to physically put the booster station, correct?
Okay. And the well site would also be on some yet-to-be-acquired property?
So it could be, they don't know where they want the well site yet. And if you read the language in the will serve letter, it actually talks about that we shall identify and convey a piece of property to them. They will have to determine the feasibility for water and the location of it, but we've agreed to do that, whether it's on this project or on the property that the owner owns to the south.
Okay. In reading some of the case file and the history, and I guess I'll direct this to Mr. Wickman because he was the applicant's representative's material that I read at that time. When you were trying to change extend the CZDA, you seemed to mention or indicate that it was for the ability to sell the parcel to someone else. Is that off the table now? The applicant's planning on developing itself?
Actually, for the record, Brandon Wickman, thank you, Madam Hearing Examiner. No, actually, that's exactly what's occurring here. So, my client, Just Get, is in the process of selling, contingent upon approval of this subdivision, selling the property to Drew's client, More Construction or
Big Creek Land Company.
Big Creek Land Company. And so that's exactly what's occurring here is Getz is getting out of it and a new developer is coming in.
Okay. So presumably you both have, for both clients, reviewed the conditions that are proposed with this staff report?
That is correct, and that's why Randy and I are sitting here together. We've both been involved in this project for a year and a half now or more, working with Getz and working with the Big Creek Land Company together jointly. They're both aware of the conditions. The conditions would run with the land, so it honestly wouldn't matter if which developer bought the property because the conditions would run with the land. But yes, they are aware of it and agreeable to them.
Okay, great. That's good to hear.
Madam Hearing Examiner, Vlad apparently wants to add something.
Oh, please.
I would like to add one point of clarification. I forgot to mention in my staff presentation that one of the conditions of approval has a very strict standard or restriction for development of each site in terms of the number of units. So the applicant will be limited to one dwelling, which prohibits the construction of an ALU or a duplex on a property that has not been either combined with an adjoining parcel or with several conjoining parcels. So as long as the property is one lot or one lot by one legal description, it's only afforded one private residence. And I did have this discussion at length with Mr. Dittman, and he advised me that his client was not opposed to that restriction. So I want to make sure that that is still the case on the record.
That is correct, Vlad. We have had that conversation, and you are correct. And that is a condition of approval, and we are agreeable to it.
Okay. I don't have any other questions at this time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now we'll move to public comment. I have one member of the public actually present here today, and that's David Schultz, who is opposed and wishes to speak. Mr. Schultz?
Yes, my name is David Schultz. I live at 5552 West Highland Drive, Coeur d'Alene. That's on the same south side of the river as this development proposal. I'm probably within 2 or 3 miles. I'm also, I have a background in wastewater treatment. I've been the capital program manager for the city of Coeur d'Alene for 28 years. I retired a few years back. And this subject of aquifer protection was very, very much a subject of interest by our wastewater utility as well as all of the entities up and down that river. So I'm a firm believer that this particular subdivision request should be not approved without some sort of an engineering analysis as to whether or not those 57 septic tanks will indeed contaminate either the adjoining wells or the adjoining river or the adjoining aquifer. When I was involved in that wastewater utility and regional planning, involved in doing whatever we could to find a way of mitigating the non-point source pollution that such large developments along the river are suspect of producing. My objection to this particular subdivision moving ahead is that it would be a travesty if indeed that particular subdivision is over the aquifer, which the USGS believes is, and have provided a study that shows that it is, that it would be in this day where our leaders are concerned about the water quality of the lake, and I know that they're still concerned about how much pollution that the Spokane River can sustain. It would just be a travesty for our decision makers today to move ahead with this subdivision with most all of the entities that were listed there that had environmental concerns or water quality concerns. Every one of those entities know that that subdivision is over the aquifer. The aquifer doesn't stop at the north side of that river like the old EPA map shows it to be. I've spoken with DEQ, Panhandle Health, the commissioners, the staff. This has been known to be an issue for years. When asked, staff members, why the map that the decision makers, including DEQ, are relying on for a legal description of that particular aquifer, when asked, well, why didn't the EPA revise their mapping when their contractor, USGS, said that that particular area was over the aquifer? And I didn't get any real good answers other than, well, seems as though the answer from Panhandle Health was, well, DEQ didn't say it was a problem, so it's not a problem to us if DEQ doesn't say it's a problem. When asked DEQ, well, why did you say it's not a problem? Well, because the official map the EPA has promulgated into law, shows the boundary to be the north side of that river. Yeah, but you know that it isn't. Well, why didn't you ask EPA or work with the EPA to get that map revised many years ago? when the USGS study happened. Well, it's not our purview to do that. You know, we got other fish to fry. I don't know why we didn't ask EPA to update that map. That's a real local concern of ours. We've been studying the river, the aquifer.
That was your time limit.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. So you get the gist of it. It's a travesty that all of these agencies know that it's over the aquifer, yet the map, the official map that they're relegated to, hasn't been updated. It's just a travesty to let that pollution happen.
Thank you
So-
so much for your input. David, do you want to do a little quick summary for your Zoom attendees on what's going to transpire here?
Well, the floor is now open for anyone that has Zoomed in that wants to speak to this issue. If you can either raise your hand, or if you don't know, there it is. We'll start with this person here, Karen. Karen, you should be able to unmute yourself. Go ahead and,
Is this right? Raise my hand and mute.
oh, there you are. Thank you. The mic is yours. Please tell us what you think.
Name and address first, please.
Your name and address.
Hey, I'll go if that's all right.
Okay. Name and address.
Yeah, yes, Karen Thurston, 9310 West Driftwood Drive in Coeur d'Alene. And I am just to the north of the subject property. I'm the northeast corner. I back up to it. And I want to thank the county for the thorough, years-long effort to get to this point. I know there's been a lot of vocal opposition to the project, and I was the one in support that showed up to the hearing in person. And although I couldn't speak for people that didn't show up in support, as you heard, there are 149 lots at least out here, and if there are 2 people per lot, that's 300 people. We haven't really heard from the majority of the people who live out here, so I want to give the other viewpoint. I am in favor of the development. I'm extremely appreciative of the fact that our water system risk of malfunction is going to be reduced because of having the additional lots. I also want to say that those lots represent people moving in. The availability of housing in our region is gotten to the point where the prices are going up, and I see this as an opportunity. If you have more than one child, where's your second child going to live if someday you pass on your home to one of your children? So, I grew up in an area where the pricing of the homes drove people out, and I don't want to see that here. I think this land is very suitable. So I just really wanted to say thank you. I want to say I support the effort. 150 houses here over the aquifer. Our septic systems are probably not going to be as good as what is going to be put in. So that's another factor. These are new systems. Maybe we all need to look at what we have currently to make them better. But, the aquifer is more than a few feet under the house. So there's a lot of sand and rock and everything for things to filter. So anyway, I leave that to the experts. I'm not an expert, but I just wanted to say thank you, and I support the project.
Thank you very much for your input. Next person.
It looked like Anissa Gamble was trying to step in.
Yes.
She has her hand there.
Okay.
Anissa, go right ahead.
Hi, my name's Anissa Gamble. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So I live at 9263 West Michael Way. I am in opposition to the proposed subdivision. We butt up right to the property, so it'll affect us a lot. My husband and I have lived here at this residence for 17 years. So this is kind of a big deal to us. I don't know if Mrs. Thurston has young children, but we have 3 small children. I get very emotional about this because this affects us a lot, and that's why we live out here. Because
because we appreciate the small, tight-knit community out here. The roads are small and narrow, and this is going to be a travesty to our community. The board members should all have a petition that was sent in from all of our community members out here, the neighbors, for the proposed extension of Patrick Drive into the Bayshore Jesse Getz subdivision. And so we are in opposition definitely for the subdivision, but one of our biggest concerns is for the extension of Patrick I want to state, oh, yes. Okay, I want to state that I'm really appreciative, my husband and I, of Mr. Bill Brooks, the county commissioner, for coming out here, taking the time to come out and look at the roads out here in this subdivision, and that it is really a safety concern. I haven't seen any other commissioners come out and look at the area and meet with the neighbors and just try to understand our concerns. So I want to say thank you to Mr. Bill Brooks. He's a wonderful man, and he's working for the people, which is how it should be. This proposal is 57 homes, which most homes have 2 cars, correct? 2 drivers most of the time, which is at least 114 extra cars through this neighborhood. That's a lot of vehicles. Our roads, like I said, are very narrow, unsafe for that much traffic to come through here. A traffic counter was set up last fall, 2019, and it was placed at the corner of Michael Way and Patrick Drive. We feel that this was not a fair test because it was midweek in the fall time. Mr. Finkel, he said that a test was given to the Post Falls Highway District, which was given to you guys by Mr. Getz. But it's my understanding that the test was not in the best interest of our community, of our neighborhood. It was more in the best interest of Mr. Getz and Bayshore Estates because that test was conducted through them. They hired a company to come do that. I feel like that test needs to be done, say, right now in the summertime instead of in the fall time in midweek when we really see traffic right now. Like I said, we have 3 small children. This is going to affect us and all the children that play in the neighborhood. It's not going to be safe. And, you know, what is a life worth if a child gets struck by one of these vehicles coming out of this subdivision? We're asking, you know, we're in opposition, like I said, to this this subdivision, but more so the extension of Patrick Drive that filters those vehicles through our neighborhood. And we're asking that you consider another possible route in and out of here, either off Riverview or possibly Greensferry. I mean, Mr. Getz, we've known him for years. I know he's got the money and he can give up one lot, at least one lot, to put another route or drive in and out of this neighborhood instead of come through Patrick Drive through these small, narrow roads. I would like to see some of the other commissioners coming out and possibly seeing what these roads look like, because they are not conducive to 114 extra vehicles or more. I'd like to see that. And like I said, I really appreciate Mr. Bill Brooks. And like I said, we are very concerned also about the sewer over the aquifer. That is a huge concern. You know, affect our drinking water. So we'd like to see another traffic test done. Also some tests on the water. And we would like another meeting held after those tests are done.
I have to cut you off now because you've expended, you know, gone beyond your 5 minutes.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you for taking my comments. And like I said, you know, safety is one of our biggest concerns. We'd like some more tests done that are adequate to when most of the traffic is held throughout here, not in the fall during midweek. I don't think that was a fair test. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on, it looks like Kent Blanton might like to speak. Kent, were you interested in? Oh, Anissa, would you mind muting yourself?
I'm gonna mute. Sorry, my kids are talking.
Well, perhaps not. Is there anyone else that would like to be heard on this topic that's zoomed in? Apparently not.
Can you hear me now?
Ah,
Yes, there you are.
Yeah, I thought the moderator was going to control the mute and unmute. So my name is Kent Blanton, as was just voiced. I live on 553 South Kelly Road. And I have a couple of points I'd like to make. One, I want to stand united here. I have 3 neighbors that all live on Kelly Road. And we've joined via Zoom to help social distance, I guess. But I want to reiterate the aquifer and the latest data should be considered. I understand that, and it's a hard case to argue against, that the lots that are proposed to be put in do reflect the other area. But how do we know that 57 plus more septic tanks aren't going to send the aquifer over the edge? Who's going to do that study? So I'd just like to reiterate that we should look at the latest aquifer data in the map to see how far it extends into this area. Secondly, living on Kelly Road, it's not been mentioned at all in any of the background or the historical view, but it's not one of the entrances into the new development, but I'm going to bet that at least half the traffic's going to come down Kelly Road to get onto the Patrick to get into the development. And so that's not a real good street. It adjoins the Patrick where the young lady spoke about having the children. And there's a couple of blind spots because of the knolls that you have to crest over coming in. And nobody drives the 25 speed limit in this neighborhood. Nor does anyone drive the 35 miles per hour on East Riverview. Which brings up my second point, and that's the traffic study, which has already been mentioned, but I can't fathom that the county or the highway district would not have got an independent analysis instead of an analysis from the developer. That sounds pretty sketchy to me. And I don't know how many days it was done, whether it was 2 days or one day or what it was, but there's 365 days in the year. You've got to at least have a sample size that reflects the traffic and probably some seasonal studies. So I would like to put that back to the developer, put that back to the planner of this meeting and to the examiner and the county commissioners to understand the traffic on Kelly Road as well as Riverview, both eastbound and westbound, and make sure you take into consideration the data, the latest data, even if that means you have to postpone this until that data comes in on the aquifer. Thank you very much.
thank you. Do we have anyone
Is there
else?
another speaker at that facility, Kent?
Excuse me, what?
Was there another speaker with you that wants to chime in at this time? Anyone else in your household there that wanted to speak?
No thanks.
Okay, thank you. I see on the screen an MPIED. Did you wish to speak? I've unmuted you. I'm trying to unmute you.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to join in and on this as well and speak for our household. We live at
Can we-
5446 West Highland Drive.
And your
So,
name is?
A couple miles up the road.
Your name is?
Maria Piedmont.
Thank you.
We also are speaking out against this. We are not in favor of it at this point. We do feel as well that there need to be a lot more comprehensive studies done of this. You cannot take a situation like this lightly. You can't just say, well, the studies are, yes, There's too much at stake. It's just foolhardy, irresponsible to do that. Not only that, but if you get into it, you get the whole development built, and then there's a problem down the road. Who's responsible for that? What are you going to do about it? How are you going to pay for it? The people who are going to pay most are the people who are in that area, living in those homes, in those developments close by that are there right now. And the other concern is, we are all for people having housing and a place to live, but it needs to be done wisely. It needs to fit into the area. This is a rural area, and people live rurally for a reason. There are developments around there, but for the most part, it's fairly rural. Roads can't support the traffic. Even though we live a little bit further up the hill off Highland, we've seen a lot of wildlife hit. Personally, our daughter was within 2 seconds of being hit and killed by a driver 2 years ago waiting to get on the school bus because someone was coming from that direction. They were in a hurry to get into town and they did not stop for the bus. We see this all the time. People impatient, passing on the road, and it's been increasing the last 3 years and getting worse and worse. So again, this just needs to be much better considered, much better looked at in all aspects. We can't just throw the dice in the air and say, oh, well, we hope it works. So let's do this right. If a development needs to be built, let's make it 2-acre minimums. And let's make it nice for the people who live there. Let them have some property, make it nice. They'll actually get more for those homes rather than just cram as many as you can and hope it's all okay. So that's where we're standing on this. So thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for your testimony.
You're welcome.
Anyone else?
Is there anyone else that's zoomed in that would like to speak to this matter? I believe it goes back to rebuttal.
Okay. Back to applicant representatives, if you want to address any of the concerns that you just heard or anything else.
Thank you, Madam Hearing Examiner Drew Dittman, again for the record. I appreciate everybody's testimony. I do, that's what's great about this public process is everybody's entitled to their time, and I do appreciate everybody's opinions and comments. With that, two big issues that I heard and I wrote down and took notes were sewer and traffic. So I'll address the sewer first, and I talked about it briefly in my presentation, and so did Vlad. The reviewing authorities, the reviewing expertise and agencies that have jurisdiction over this have reviewed this. Environmental Health has reviewed it. Idaho Department of Environmental Quality has reviewed it. They have adopted and accepted standards that are in place based on their criteria and based on state law. And we are entitled to proceed under those guidelines. And that includes the location or the current location or the adopted location, if you will, of the aquifer. This property excuse me, is not over the aquifer according to the experts, Panhandle Health and DEQ, and therefore is not subject to those aquifer rules. We have had lengthy conversations with the health district. They have seen the layout, they are aware of the number of lots, and they are approving the use of septic systems. Traffic, there were some comments made about the extension of Patrick. I can tell you that Patrick Avenue or Patrick Road Drive, I guess it is, has always been planned to be extended. The right-of-way exists there. The right-of-way has already been stubbed into the Getz property. That was done previously with the subdivision of all of those lots on Michael and Kelly Road. So it's not a new access. That access is existing, although the road is not built today. The right-of-way is extended there and does exist for the future extension of the road. That is a requirement of the highway district that we do tie into that and loop that road through. And we will have the second access, obviously, onto West Riverview Drive. Again, as it relates to traffic, a traffic study was done. We didn't do it. We hired a traffic consultant, an expert in the field. They consulted directly with Post Falls Highway District, and it's in the report. A lot of the information in the report was directed by the highway district. The locations of traffic counters which were put out, the area of study, the intersections that they wanted to be analyzed, all of that was done at the direction of the highway district. And that information was presented to the highway district, who independently had their engineer review it. So it was reviewed by I guess a third party, an independent party, was reviewed by the highway district and their engineer, who, when we submitted the first one, came back with some comments, wanted some clarifications. The traffic engineer made some clarifications, made some adjustments, and resubmitted the impact analysis to the highway district and to their engineer, who again reviewed it and approved it. So traffic has been thoroughly vetted, not only by, as it was said, our traffic consultant, but it also been reviewed by the experts and the reviewing authority, which is the highway district and their engineer. Density was brought up briefly too, and again, I'll go back to, we have a conditional zoning development agreement that gives us the outright entitlement for 2 units per acre. That is what we're presenting. What is currently allowed by the zoning development agreement that is in place. As I showed you in my presentation earlier, the density is almost identical to what is next to the project to the north and the east. So from that regard, we do feel it fits. Randy, do you have anything else to add? I think I tried to cover everybody's concerns. I took notes, so hopefully I answered all of the questions.
Thank you, Drew. I'm just waiting for Joan to decide if she has anything else.
Sure, we'll hang tight.
Drew, could you speak just a minute to what you expect to happen when you have a parcel that you want to start developing and you need to get it approved for a septic system? How do you proceed with that process?
So that process actually starts prior to the entitlement level, at basically the stage we're at now. So when a developer comes in and wants to subdivide a piece of property, we submit a plan to the county, as we have done. The county, in turn, submits that to all of the jurisdictional agencies for review. One of those is the health district. One of those is DEQ. Those people comment on the big picture viability of what is proposed. In this case, we propose septic systems, and both DEQ and Panhandle Health, who are the reviewing authorities, have reviewed that and said that that's acceptable. Once the project is entitled and approved, and a builder goes to pull a building permit on one of the lots in the project, they will be required to submit a subsurface sewage application to Panhandle Health District, which will require the digging of test pits. Panhandle Health District will typically come out on site. They will examine the soils. They will classify the soils. They will apply a loading rate. I'm sorry, I'm getting a little bit technical. I'm an engineer. They apply a loading rate to that soil, and based on the size of the house, the number of bedrooms in the house, they will say your septic system needs this much area, this much square footage, based on the soil type and based on the size of the house. Panhandle Health then issues the septic permit for the home builder to go put the septic system in.
So if a builder encounters a site that doesn't have the appropriate soil, or the tests that are done won't support the size of the septic system that's needed for the house that's planned, what happens?
Randy's whispering in my ear. That's something we typically have to prove before final plat, and all of the lots would have a viable septic site. And it's usually done through research and soil classification. The soils in the area are well documented. There's been a history of like I said, 149 oxenate doors. So the soil types in that area are pretty well known. And so based on existing record information and based on U.S. geological surveys and soil data, we can classify the soils and say these soils are typically conducive to the installation of septic systems. And we have done some of that, and there was a little bit of an analysis in the narrative that we submitted, which you should have in your file, that talks about the soil classification and soil type.
So your confidence level at this point is pretty good that you've got,
Very high. There are actually existing septic systems on the property today.
okay. Thank you. I don't have anything else. So that concludes our public hearing for case number MSP 19-0006.
Thanks, everyone, and good evening.
Thanks.